So please welcome Lily Nova to the show. Welcome, Lily.
Hey, thanks so much for having me on.
Oh, thank you so much. I have really had fun learning about you, and you came into my life, into my presence, I think 2 weeks ago. Like I saw the video. It was like right around the Charlie Kirk, and that was everything was, anything that was people were talking about that I was drawn to, right?
Hmm.
And so I listened to your YouTube video on that, and I sent it to everybody. And then I started looking more into all of that you do because that's just the beginning that caught my attention. It's so funny that I wouldn't have known what I know now of you just by listening to that episode, because now
Right.
that I've read your book or listened to your book called Contact, I feel like I know you, and the story of your life is amazing. And I realize we all had these 2020 was such a pivotal year. And I mean, I would say for everybody, because it was everything. And
Yeah.
when I look at your life, when it started to transition in that year and what you had gone through with your family and your dad, and how you were being led. I just love when people pick up the breadcrumbs and just
Yeah.
keep going. And that's what you did. And I have like two chapters left. So I'm still like getting there. But just to
Yeah.
watch your journey and how what inspires me and what you've done for me is like when something, if when you're like given something like a clue or, like something's telling you something, you don't ignore it, and you
Right.
just keep going. And that's what you did. And now you've figured out your magic, and I absolutely love it. So I'd love to start. I mean, you're a nutritionist, like when you start your life, like this is
Hmm.
regular old girl with haven't figured out your magic. Can you kind of explain your dad? And I feel like you chose him for this lifetime, for he gave you so much, and you didn't think you thought it was at the time like maybe not a positive thing, but now looking back like, oh my gosh, what an amazing dad, that what he did for you.
Yeah, that jumps in so deep already. Wow. Um, yeah, my father was a really, really big part of my journey. So just a little bit of background for those listening. Well, we didn't really always get along. Like I always had a very strong connection with him. But he struggled with alcoholism and mental health here and there. But we were so alike in so many ways. Like we were both very artistic. We thought outside the box. So whenever we got along, we got along. But there was a period where our relationship was very, very rocky. And he was actually able, which I'm sure a lot of people can, you may have been through that yourself, or you have family members who were impacted by that. And it can be a tough journey. But he got sober uh, shortly before his passing, and we were able to really mend our relationship and get really close. And he was also the one who would introduce me to like the show Ancient Aliens and stuff like that. Like he liked watching like how the universe works, science stuff, UFO stuff, just ancient history, ancient mysteries, things like that. So we really bonded over that and rekindled our relationship. And then he abruptly passed away of heart disease, which nobody knew that he had. He was actually the healthiest that he had been in years. He was like fit, he had quit smoking, he had quit drinking, and he
And
was
young,
really,
right? Like 44 or something. How old was
yeah, 44 or 45. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
it might be 45. So yeah, he was very young, and it's been like 10 years or so now, but I'm like, holy smokes, like I'll be there in no time, you know what I mean? Like that's so young. So it was a tragedy, and that I started to really spiral with that into a really bad dark night of the soul for years and years and years. A really self-destructive path, really. And but then that forced me to seek help because I was relying on, well, I started relying on substances, ironically, which is what he was doing before.
Right.
And so that was just a really big struggle. But then I actually went to I went and got the same help that he did, that was finally able to help him. And I had my first spiritual experience during that. And it was very much like a self-help thing. You know, they teach you write letters. It was this program that I was doing. They teach you to write letters to yourself or to like my father or your family members or things like that. And you know, really deep dive into your triggers and what needs healing. So I had to really just surrender to the universe and surrender all of my pain and allow for light to come in. And that's whenever I had my first spiritual experience. And then not too long after,
What was your first spiritual experience?
well, I was in like this mental loop, which I'm sure also probably a lot of people in the audience could identify with this. It could be brief for some. For me, it lasted for years, but I was in this mental loop of like kind of torturing myself in pain over and over and over and over again.
Oh,
And this spiritual experience that I had, you know, I started praying and I'm not a religious person at all. So that was new for me and it was uncomfortable at first. But that led to what then happened next. I felt all of this struggle and this burden, this heaviness that was clouding me, and also the sadness from my father leaving and in the way that it happened. And just suddenly, like I saw a rainbow, and I just felt a presence come over me, which was God. And I never felt that before. And it literally lifted all of the pain that I was feeling and
oh,
took it all away. And I felt like I could see clearly, like this fog was lifted for the first time in years. And after that, my life was just changed. Like I went back to school, I finished school. You know, I started getting really healthy. And then shortly after 2020 happened, which is when my contact experiences with extraterrestrials began. But that was really a huge spark and a massive transformation. And it forced me to dig deep within myself, which a lot of people either don't do or they're realizing that they have to do this.
right. Oh gosh. But you got fired from your job in 2020. I just see these are like the breadcrumbs. Like when I
hmm
say that, like, oh, like thank you for being fired, right?
Yeah, I mean, I was getting signs for months and months. So I went and I finished dietetic school, which I went to dietetic school because my dad passed from heart disease, and I started researching it, and I intuitively knew it was like stress that actually killed him and poor nutrition. And and then I look up, okay, what's heart disease? Heart disease kills more people than the Holocaust every single year, but you don't see much about it.
Right.
And also, one of the number one contributing factor is diet and your health. It's preventable, essentially. So that's why I went to dietetic school. I went and graduated, finished that, got my first job, dream job teaching nutrition and health classes. But then I kept getting signs to quit, and the work environment wasn't the best. Finally, I didn't get fired. I did quit after a blow up happened with my boss, and they were just treating me terrible. And so I ignored the signs for a minute, actually. I was getting the feeling you need to leave. And then it got so bad that I just left. And then that's whenever my whole life changed again after that.
Right. So you start looking at the stars and you
hmm
have cameras and you're into like looking up at what have you always been interested in looking up at the stars and the moon and
Not quite like that. No, this was like I loved the stars and I loved looking up, but I wasn't doing it up until that point like I was then. So when 2020 happened, there was lockdowns and I got into space photography. I really started to feel passionate about that. And whenever I quit my nutrition job, then I fully just handed myself over to the stars and was spending literally every single night out there. And it was like a sense of wonder, a sense of beauty. And I was so excited and became so passionate about it. That's literally all I did. Like literally every single night I was out there.
But you know
Um,
what that says to me, like now that I understand your story, it's
mhm,
like that's your remember, you're being called. They're calling you, right? Like,
mhm.
oh, it's like your soul is like remembering your your family, like your history, your who you
Yeah.
connected to, right? Like this is where you're going.
Yeah.
I love it. Okay, continue.
Yeah.
That was in
Yeah.
November of what, 20?
So I started the summer of 2020, and then I quit my job in September 2020, and then that's whenever I went full throttle with the space photography and space stuff. And yeah, it was like the universe was calling me home, back to myself, and I was going through what, most people would call like a dark night of the soul, but it's a rebirth, and it's a remembering of who you are, coming back into touch with yourself. And yeah, I just felt this really strong connection. And then I had my first UFO experience while in the middle of that. That happened in November. So I quit my job in September, and then in November is when I had my first very, very close encounter with UFOs. And then after that first time, I was just started seeing them left and right, and I felt like they were, at first it was crazy, realizing that we aren't the only ones, and I wasn't making it up. This was real. And the way that these craft kept appearing, I felt a strange connection with them, and like they were trying to communicate with me. And then a bunch of other things happened there, but I'll stop there if you want to ask any questions.
No, I was just, what was the Conversations with God book? Because that came in, that was a pivotal thing to you.
Yeah, so that a friend gifted me that book after my dad passed because I didn't know, I wasn't in touch with spirituality. I had a weird relationship with God. I did not like organized religion at all. So there was always just kind of this weird resistance. But whenever my dad passed, I'm like, I know he's not gone. So I wanted to know, where is he? What happens after you die? And so my friend gifted me this book, and that was another really pivotal moment in my life because it explains, well, it's apparently channeled from God. So this guy, he picks up a pen, and then it just starts writing on itself by itself. So there's this back and forth conversation. So it's a channeled material, and what God or source or whatever you want to call it says throughout that book is, it helped open my mind and open my heart. Um, and it says, it basically, forget everything you were told about me because that's all a lie. It's not a punishing God. It's not one that you need to be fearful. It's not one that excludes people. It's actually something that's within you and is omnipresent. So it introduced a more spiritual component that resonated much more. And then it also talks about the afterlife and all sorts of other topics that brought me a lot of clarity.
Okay, so let's go right into this connection to these UFOs and um I mean I want you to go into it to the point of because I think it's so fresh in my mind right now because I've was listening to you. But when so you don't you see you have a connection in November and nothing again until January. So
Hmm.
between November and January, you're still out with your camera all into that.
Hmm.
So can we go into like how you start connecting and you at your telepathy and all this, all the things?
Yeah. So these crafts appeared, and my first encounter was like one of my closest with the actual ship. Actually, it was very close. It was just a few houses down. Um,
In
and
Missouri, right?
yeah, in Missouri. I lived in St. Louis at the time, so it was in the suburbs of St. Louis, Missouri. And so that dramatically shifted my reality. And then I started trying to research UFOs and stuff like that. So, because I want to know, what did I see? And holy smokes, this is real. It was very life-changing. And I'm still doing space photography. And then I'm more interested because I'm like, there's beings up there. Like, I
Right.
saw their craft. So, and then January, I was by myself at an astronomy park, and I was just sitting in my car, and it was like super late. It was like almost 2 o'clock in the morning. And then I started getting this weird feeling that I wasn't alone. And so I looked out my window, and I saw a hovering craft, um, on the tree line to my right, and then I saw one to my left. And then I looked behind me, and out of my back window, I can see two lights behind me. And then whenever I sit back in my car, there are lights in front of me that weren't there before in this very thin tree line. And I realized that I think I'm surrounded by UFOs. And so I had my camera with me, and I didn't know if they knew that I was there. I thought I was being sneaky. And I'm like, I'm going to document evidence of this. So I just started recording them, and I didn't feel fear. It was a little spooky, but I didn't really feel fear. I felt an overwhelming curiosity. And I sat there filming them for hours and hours and hours, actually, until finally I left once the sun was starting to come up. And after that, I started seeing them left and right. And I felt this really deep soul connection, like they were trying to tell me something. And I start seeing them all of the time. And I'm like, okay, now it's obvious that they're trying to tell me something. And this intuitive feeling started to develop. It wasn't quite telepathy yet. Um, but I remember the first time I did have like an overwhelming telepathic contact was I was sitting there reflecting on why these UFOs are suddenly showing up because I had like 13 sightings within 2 weeks
Wow.
after that second time in January. So
Is Missouri known for like UFOs? Because I,
they there's like this place called Piedmont that's Missouri, which is like it's become the UFO capital. There's a
oh,
lot of
okay.
activity there. UFO capital of Missouri, and that's like 2 hours from where I used to live. So there's actually been some UFO flaps. Yeah. Springfield, Missouri, has had some famous sightings. So
Okay.
there's a decent amount that happens in Missouri.
Okay.
Yeah.
Continue.
So the first telepathic contact, I was sitting there reflecting, and I'm like, I'm just going to try to talk to them with my mind, which
Right.
it again was like an intuitive download. Like the universe was guiding me to do that. And I'm like, what do you guys want? Why are you showing up all of a sudden? And I felt like they're not leaving me alone. They're everywhere. What do you guys want? What is happening to me? And I had a postcard of that famous painting of, I think is it David and God or
Michelangelo, yes.
yeah, where the fingers are almost touching and it's God and
Yes.
a human. I had that painting, just the hands with the fingers about to touch on my wall, and it came off my wall and was thrown at my feet. Like it was stuck with tape to my wall, and it came down and was thrown at my feet. And then I picked it up and looked at the image, and I heard contact. We want contact. And so then that shifted everything. That was like a confirmation from them. That was the
You
first.
were you were hearing it like that was your
Yes.
intuition. It was like that's what that.
Yeah,
Okay.
the word popped in my head very strong. Contact.
Okay.
That's what we want. That's what we're here for. That's why we keep showing up because we want to make contact. And again, at that time in 2020, the beginning, and now at this point, it's the beginning of 2021. You didn't really hear UFOs much or anything like that. So I'm like, holy crap, this is the forefront of it.
Right.
Like once I started doing more research, I realized there's been contactees since like the 40s, 50s, 60s, and there's a lot of common themes. Uh, but yeah, it was just a reality shifting thing. I'm like, holy smokes, they want to make contact with me. And I didn't know, I wasn't in the UFO community. I didn't know anything about starseeds or any of that. Um, so yeah, I just went with it and I'm like, okay. So I just started going out, kind of looking for them, inviting them to make contact, and they would show up on camera for me. And as that relationship developed, my telepathy grew stronger. They activated like these psychic abilities in me to where we could have communications, and I would feel this overwhelming love from them that got me very, very emotional. And it was just such a beautiful feeling. So I was just going with it, even though nobody
Right.
believed me. And this is like crazy, but I was just going with it. Okay, I'm going to learn from them and I'm going to see what this is about because this is happening and it's important.
Right. If to explain when you connect with, is it Talia, the blue, the light blue
Yeah.
uh person?
Yeah. So And I'll share the first time. So this is the first time I'm like, okay, I want to make contact. I had somebody else there with me, and I asked for them to appear. And within 5 minutes, a golden orb appears in the sky, and it's like moving around. And this is like a physical or plasma golden light that I'm now, this is the first time somebody else is witnessing it with
Okay.
me. And he said, I was trying to talk to it and, asking it questions. I was super excited. And I was like, can I take your picture? And I got a few pictures of it. And my friend said, why don't we try and close our eyes and see if we can get any information that way? And I thought that sounded kind of strange, but I just did it. And whenever I did that, they telepathically sent me a vision of the inhabitants of this craft who is controlling it. And Talia, I would later learn her name, but she was I saw a female being in the center, and she had light blue skin and no hair, and she had this skin tight silver uniform on, almost like silver, like Star Trek uniform. And then she had some crew members, probably about 5 crew members, also light blue skin, in the same uniform, that was standing behind her. And so that after that, it was like the floodgates were open, and I started developing a communication with this female who would tell me that her name was Talia.
And then the clouds they would start messaging you with like an eye and a
Yeah.
heart. Make,
Yeah. So I started experiencing all of these signs and synchronicities to the point where I almost thought, am I going crazy? Like
are you sharing this with anybody? Are you talking to your mom about it?
um, I mean, I learned pretty quickly that I couldn't really talk about it.
Okay.
I would talk to my mom about it a little bit because she was the only one who really was like open. My
Right.
boyfriend at the time, I couldn't really talk to him about it. Um, and I wasn't really talking to too many other people at the time. So this was like a big solo journey for the most part, at least in the beginning, while I'm developing this communication. And yeah, I started seeing signs in the clouds. I would see this giant eye. Uh, to the point sometimes where I'm like, is nobody else seeing this? Like, there's like a giant eye in the sky. And sometimes it would come with this like shift of awareness, like this heightened sense of awareness. And it was really interesting. I could feel my consciousness and awareness just like expanding whenever I saw these things. And they started showing me like DNA in the clouds too, and other sorts of like signs and symbols. I saw Jesus in the cloud. I think I put a picture of that one in my book, I think. Um, and so I started having all of these beautiful, like spiritual, profound experiences. Whenever I would see these things, I would see hearts. And it was like, it felt like it was a communication. It wasn't just like, oh, that's a cool sign. No, it came with a whole reality shifting communication. That was
What do
their
you
way of
mean?
picking up the phone. Mm.
Reality shifting.
Like, like I would feel this expansion in my heart. I would get this overwhelming feeling that I'm not alone. And I would usually feel like love. And sometimes I would get a communication with it, like with the eye. I knew for a while that's how the ETs would contact me to tell me to come out with your camera. It's almost like the signal.
Oh,
Like the
right.
bat signal calls Batman.
Right.
I know that sounds crazy, but that's what they would do with me. I'd be driving and I'd see this giant eye, and I'd like kind of get a message with it, like, all right, we're here, get your camera. And I would get my camera out, I would go set up somewhere, and then I would just start taking pictures, filming the sky. And then a lot of time, these either like these craft would show up or these orbs. I'd capture these orbs on camera. So that was them like calling me. Sometimes they'd use it as like a bat call. Sometimes it would just kind of be this like beautiful divine synchronicity that sometimes would come with other uh, messages.
Why do they want to connect with you? What is their intention?
Yeah, so that took me a little bit to figure out. But then I realized that they were my star family. So I realized that I had a deep connection with them, and they had known me for a very long time. They had been with me since birth. They had been watching over me. And then this is about 6 months in, I found out about what a star seed was. And there's a lot of information. I was shocked. I'm like, I can't believe there's so much information out there on this. But a star seed is a soul who is extraterrestrial in origin, but has incarnated on Earth at this time in a human body. But so there's a lot of like signs that you could be a star seed, like you might feel called to the stars, or oftentimes they're like the black sheep, or you might have gifts and abilities. You might be more intuitive, or you might even have like prophetic dreams. Things like that happen often to star seeds. They're just kind of more advanced and old souls. So then that made sense. I'm like, oh my God. And that was another very profound moment like that. They're my family. That's why they're contacting me. But also, they were contacting me because they wanted me to film them and help share this and share the information that I was getting from them and share these messages.
Because this is the time of the
Great awakening,
Great
basically.
Awakening, right?
Yeah. And that's a whole other thing and that's why star seeds are incarnating on Earth right now to help usher in the Great Awakening. We bring in a frequency, we bring in um, a more open mindset, healing gifts and abilities. There's a lot of like healers or intuitives, things like that, to help usher in a new age where for humanity to evolve. And also remember that we come from the stars. We actually have extraterrestrial DNA. We
Right.
literally are their brothers and sisters.
Right. What does that look like when you, because I was, I told you we went to Bashar last year in Sedona,
Mhm.
and he was explaining what it was going to look like when we had contact. But,
Mhm.
right now it's like I've been listening to you talk about Three Eye
Atlas.
Atlas.
Yeah.
And let's talk about that. Like, what's going on right now? How do you see this contact, people seeing, understanding, I just feel there's such a shift in the last month, even.
Yeah.
I mean, I watched you talk about the Schumann resonance, the day that Charlie Kirk, that was what you showed in that video. And,
Yeah.
it's like now ever since that day, my whole reality has been like, I used to believe that. Like, I used to drink the Kool-Aid. Like, I thought I was
Yeah.
awake, but no,
Yeah.
I need to wake up. But it's
Yeah.
like, that's what's happening.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, I've got goosebumps all over my body. Yeah, the past month has been extreme uh shifts in consciousness and awakening. And then we're also seeing like these trigger events that are playing out, like the Charlie Kirk event that happened and how that's affected the Earth's heartbeat and the collective consciousness. More people are waking up like, okay, hey, that wasn't right. There's a lot of corruption surrounding that. And so people are starting to dig for answers more and more. And unfortunately, 99% of what we are fed are lies
Right.
or indoctrination. It's programming. There's a really dark side to that. And what this part of what like the light workers or star seeds are here doing, and then the galactics, our galactic family, and all of that, working together to help dissolve the illusion. We've all been living in illusion, basically.
Yep.
uh,
Totally.
yeah, like nothing is what we thought it was, and it goes so deep, and you can go down rabbit holes of conspiracy theories, but a lot of these conspiracy theories are actually right, and that's mind-boggling. And
Right.
then that's a little bit of a process to open up to that and to literally just process it because you're like, holy crap, nothing was what anybody said it was. Like it's completely different. Um, yeah, just like the indoctrination, the pharmaceutical companies, the food, like there's so much corruption out there. And then we're kept to be small and fit in basically these cages. And the addictive social media, the addictive chemicals in all the foods. Like it's just meant to keep you distracted from actually working on yourself, from being healthy and happy. And they do it so well, like they squeeze you to where you barely notice,
Right.
but you can form.
Yep. Oh.
You can learn a lot from Star Wars, actually. They really deep dive into that,
Uh-huh.
how that whole thing works. Like it's crazy if you watch all of the Star Wars films, especially the first three. It explains how the corrupt politics work and control and the manipulation tactics of the dark side, if you will. And yeah, it happens slowly to where you do not realize that you are being programmed into being submissive and just kind of following the herd.
Right. You know, I mean, just when we were talking about the Charlie Kirk thing and it opened my eyes way, way wider. It's that thing where when you know, you know, like I can't even watch people speak now. It's like like, nope, I know.
Yeah.
But what
A
is
lot of them are
the,
actors.
oh, I
And
know.
and you don't like thinking, like I hate thinking like that, but the signs and evidence is becoming so obvious. And it really is, it's like a giant reality show.
Right.
And these people, these a lot of the politicians or celebrities or whatever, they live in a whole different reality than us. I'm not condemning all of them. I'm just saying that that's um
Oh,
they're put up on this pedestal and they're paid to do these things and whatever, and then it literally just kind of shapes humanity and our perception, and there's a lot of toxic just programming that's been going on, and that's just the reality of it. But people are starting to wake up to that. We've got a rise of like micro influencers who so you don't have to go, and then independent journalists and media, so you don't have to follow exactly what like Fox or CNN is saying. So there's more options that are coming out, and people are waking up to that.
right. So, Three Eye Atlas, connect it to the whales and the dolphins and explain that whole thing. I love it. I've heard it, but now learning from you, I want people to understand it like you explain it.
Yeah, Three Eye Atlas is actually incredible. That is, well, it's an alien craft, basically, a massive craft that's coming in. And we've seen this before with Oumuamua, and that was a big fuss back in, it might have been like 2017 or 2018. I heard about it, but I wasn't like,
Yeah.
that was prior to Big Awakening. But that was Avi Loeb, the Harvard scientist, actually came out and said that that was an alien craft, and that sparked a bunch. So that was kind of like a wave of awakening. That
Okay.
was that was one step in the awakening process. Okay, now put this out. This is real. Um, and then that just is kind of acclimating us towards full disclosure and open contact, like it's happening in stages. Just a side note. But Three Eye Atlas is another wave of that coming in. It's not behaving like a comet, and it's done quite a few things to very much confuse scientists. It has slowed down and sped back up. It disappeared from radar for 17 minutes. It's been sending signals. It's doing things on purpose, basically, to show that it's not, hey, this is something different. This is intelligent. And uh, yeah, so I tuned in. I've developed psychic gifts and abilities and telepathic contact. We kind of went over that in the beginning, but I've really honed my skills and abilities over the last 5 years. So I like psychically tuning into things, and I can access like the Akashic records and things like that. So I tuned into Three Eye Atlas to see what's all the fuss about, and what I saw was it is an actual craft, and it is kind of like this plasma-y type craft that can actually like even change shape or project out a certain look, and it's kind of like cloaked, but there's many different galactic races that are involved with this craft. And I asked what's its purpose, and I received the answer: it is a conduit of frequency. So basically, this craft is coming in, and scientists already know this. They're seeing it, they're showing it, that the craft is interacting with our sun, which in turn is interacting with us. Now, with the ascension process and the Great Awakening, the sun is a really big part of that because it's light, it's source, and it's also a portal. And we are all light. We've got these physical bodies. We look like we're physical, but at the core of it, we're light. So as we remember more of who we are, our light begins to shine brighter. We begin to activate more of our energy centers. Our consciousness and awareness just expands. Our frequency rises, and the sun's a big part of that. And the sun is helping to activate and upgrade us in our DNA and our energy centers. So the ship is interacting with the sun. It's bringing in frequencies, and it's basically acting like a tuning fork, tuning the solar system and Earth, and helping us raise our frequency and experience quantum leaps and shifts in awareness and understanding, in connection with who we really are. Uh, so right now it's just really been a potent window to for whatever personal development or spiritual work that you want to do. It's like amplified right now, as Three Eye Atlas approaches, and I believe it's somewhere around Mars right now. And by November, it'll be the closest to Earth. But it'll be whenever it's the closest, it'll be on the other side of our sun, and so we won't be able to see it. But I find that interesting because I feel like it's going to use the sun as kind of like a projector or
Oh,
amplifier to send in kind of these codes and frequencies, which help to raise our vibration and help. It's also purging a lot of shadows, purging a lot of dark entities and things like that, just kind of clearing them out, exposing them, clearing them out, dissolving the veil, dissolving the illusion. It's doing all of these things simultaneously. And you can really feel that if you were to focus on energy work or personal development or even making contact if you wanted to. You can experience just quantum leaps.
when you bring in the dolphins and the whales.
Oh yeah, the dolphins and whales. So I've done 3 sessions with Three Eye Atlas where I tuned in to see what's going on, the beings that are interacting with it and its purpose and all of that. But then another time I said, I'm just going to try and connect with the ship itself and see what happens. Not talk to any of the beings, not remote view it. I just want to connect directly to the ship. And when I did, I I saw the ship in my mind's eye, and I felt that it was a conscious being. It was actually a living being, basically. And it felt like what I would imagine connecting with a dolphin or a whale would be like. Now, a lot of people say that swimming with the dolphins or whales is a massive heart-opening experience. It's very profound. You can experience a lot of healing, and they're also like the tones that they do, they're helping your vibration.
Right.
They're helping you. They can heal you. They can activate you. You can have new profound experiences that follows swimming with them. So this ship felt very much like the consciousness of like a whale or a dolphin. I experienced a immense peace and bliss and awareness. Like I just felt it was almost like an experience with God, where you just
Huh.
feel everything's clear, the mind chatter goes away. You feel very present and just an expanded version of yourself. And you feel like this love in your heart. And that's what it felt like connecting with this ship. Now, that sounds probably sounds a little weird, but I
No, it doesn't
mean,
to me.
our universe is so much more than what we think it is.
Oh, is it ever? And every day, my mind goes like the emoji with the head exploding. So I was like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh. But you talk about the pineal gland. I was just at a retreat this last weekend and we did this amazing meditation and how, like, I even think when you're talking about like the frequencies and the activations that's happening and that our bodies are crystalline, like we're turning into this crystalline being more so. And the
Mhm.
babies that are coming in now are have way more of their DNA lit up than we
Mhm.
are, right? So
Yes.
will you explain that connection and what our bodies are going through in the DNA with the pineal gland?
Hmm. Yeah, so our pineal glands, which the ancients talked all about this, and probably like even like ancient Chinese medicine, all of that, like they know about this stuff. They've known about this for a long time. But the pineal gland is in your brain and it's connected to your third eye. It's like your third eye chakra, basically. In your third eye is that's like your intuition. That's your ability to see beyond, and it can look different for different people. Like some people um, may have like dreams or prophecies, or but also it can be as simple as like being able to pick up on somebody else's energy and know their intentions. That's like the
Mhm.
pineal gland. So as that activates, you're more aware. So that's activating right now in us, and that's been heavily calcified by like fluoride in our water and all of these other toxins and chemicals. So taking some supplements, like I take iodine nascent, that helps to decalcify the pineal gland, eating more nutritious foods, sun gazing, which you do at, either early morning or as the sun is setting. You don't do it in the middle of the day because it can blind you.
Right. I do that in the morning on my walk with the dogs. Yeah.
Yeah, so that actually that helps to decalcify and it helps to activate your third eye. So that's happening. And as that happens, we become more in alignment with our intuition. Our intuition grows stronger, and life becomes easier because you have a built-in compass already.
Right.
So you begin to access that and live in divine alignment with who you truly are whenever that happens. So that's happening. And you also begin to see through the lies. You can see through the
Right.
facade. You can see through the illusion of the Matrix, Neo. Like that's happening. And then the DNA. So scientists say that 95% of our DNA is junk DNA. And that just sounds like BS already. Like God doesn't make junk, nature doesn't make junk. There's a purpose for everything.
Yeah.
So our DNA, it's actually a lot of it's just been dormant, and we can activate that. And as we activate that, we're activating more of who we truly are, and more of these gifts and abilities start to come online. And also, we can just live and flow with the universe. So, our DNA is activating, and as that happens, our frequency, we become more high vibe. We become more in tune with ourselves, with the universe, with nature, and we can activate incredible gifts and abilities and also turn things off like disease.
Right.
So you decide what you want to turn on and off, and you can work with your DNA in that way. Joe Dispenza does a lot of work on that.
Yeah. I love Joe Dispenza. I love his meditations. My friends have all gone to his retreats lately. His name has been in my conversations a lot lately. But so when you talk about the DNA, because you on your website you do DNA activations, you go through these processes,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And in that, where did that come from? From learning from your
Yeah,
the
from the extraterrestrials.
okay, yeah,
So
what? Yeah,
so they started showing me DNA, and and then they started teaching me that our DNA is much more than we've been told, and that our DNA is very, very special. And we have all of these amazing gifts and abilities basically hidden, and all of this amazing wisdom, because your DNA carries information. It can carry wisdom. And we can access this by turning it on. So the Galactics taught me how to turn it on, and they would sit with me in meditation, and they would basically send me like these frequencies, and like I would feel this energy and I would see these visions, and I can literally feel physical reactions in my body, and they would show me all of this light, and they would show me visions of like my DNA lighting up. So I would meditate with them. I meditated with them for months and months, focusing on the DNA specifically. And they said basically anything you want to achieve, you can do it through working with your DNA, because your DNA is who you are. That's your blueprint. So if you have some bad habits that you want to get rid of, delete it out of your blueprint. If you have some disease that's been running in your family, you could probably delete it from your blueprint. If you want to activate confidence, if you want to activate psychic gifts and abilities, if you want to be a public speaker, whatever, if you want to activate your art gene, Whatever it is, you can work with your DNA and achieve that. And so they taught me that, and and then I started doing that. They said, "All right, we want you to start doing meditations on YouTube." And so I got my singing bowls, and I'll use like the frequencies of the singing bowls, which can help with DNA repair and healing and activation. And then I do guided, basically meditations, but I'm channeling in a sense to where like nothing's taking over my body necessarily, but I'm channeling these frequencies from the galactics or the higher realms, and they'll show me what is going on, or they'll show me how to do it, and then I verbalize it, and those frequencies and codes come out through my voice, and I help facilitate these healing and activation sessions, basically.
Are you doing light language? Is that what you're?
So I'm not speaking another language, but I believe it is still like a form of light language, but I'm not speaking another language. But I will also hum and kind of do these tones as well. That's begun activating more over the past year. So I've started to incorporate it a little bit into my activations as I'm gaining confidence with my singing voice.
Yeah, that's the. I've interviewed a few people lately. We've been talking about the all the ahs, aloha, everything is with that tone. I
Yeah.
mean, in every culture,
Yeah.
it's all that tone. Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, the tone is really important. So we're all frequency and vibration. So as I'm speaking through these meditations, whether I'm speaking in words or whatever, like the tones and the way that I'm saying it and the energy coming through is kind of like restructuring you and restructuring the field. So it's very similar to what light language uh, basically is doing the same thing.
Right. Let's go to Mount Shasta. I'm being called to go to Mount Shasta. I've interviewed this woman that she lives there now, and I'm like, oh, I need to go have a week retreat there. But you have retreats there, and you
Mhm.
talk about. I wanted you to explain because they're like now that you live in Sedona, and there's these places on this earth that have these higher frequency vortexes in there. Tell me about the difference. Like when you go to Mount Shasta, what is that? Like there's dinosaurs in a thing. I know that Lumeria, there's a area underneath, I don't know. Saint Germain comes.
Yeah, yes. So Mount Shasta is amazing. Mount Shasta, there's a lot of lore around it. A lot of weird, incredible things happen. It's a very spiritually charged place. And it's known for being the home to an inner earth civilization called Telos. So it's an inner earth city called Telos, and the beings there are a higher vibrational race. They're 5D, fifth dimensional, and or higher, and they're actually the survivors of Lemuria and Atlantis. So whenever that cataclysm happened and the great floods and all of that happened, some of the Lumerians and a little bit of the Atlanteans too, they fled into inner Earth to survive, and they created this whole civilization. There's literally all these networks within the Earth, but these beings occupy a higher dimensional space. But the veil is thinning, so we're starting to see them more, being able to interact with them more, and yeah, so their town, that city is within Mount Shasta. A lot of people report having interactions with them. Whenever I do my retreats, I do guided meditations with them, and people have very profound experiences, and they feel like a strong connection to these beings because some of them are us. Some of them, uh, a lot of us were incarnated in Atlantis or Lemuria before this. So this isn't like our first rodeo. um, there was basically like a reset on the planet, and our history was erased, and we're starting to remember, where we came from. But yeah, the veil's very thin. There's like Sasquatch, there's fairies, there's angels, there's ascended masters. People have experiences with like Jesus, Mary, Saint Germain's a really popular one, and Lady Porta, who's his twin flame. Sasquatch, orbs, UFOs. Like it's just an extravagant hotspot because it's like this power place on the grid. So that's why they're there. The energy is very, very strong there. And it's like maybe you could even call it like a dimensional portal. Like so they can portal in and out very easily there. And that's like a nodal point, like a chakra point on our planet. So that's why it's just
Oh,
this a lot of high energy happens there because it's basically like a chakra center. And I had an interesting experience there whenever I was hosting my retreat. We went to this place called Castle Crags, which is really close to Mount Shasta. It's like 15 minutes away from it. Beautiful rock formations. It looks like a stone castle. Uh, and did the trail. It's very strenuous. On the way back down, I had an experience where I suddenly felt like I was not where I was. Like I felt like I was in two places at once. And I felt like I was in Inner Earth or somewhere else, but then I also felt like I was, walking where I was. And then I heard in my head pterodactyl, and I looked up, and with my eyes open, I saw a pterodactyl flying overhead for a few seconds. And it was really weird. It was like I was tapping into this parallel reality, and I saw it manifest and was able to see that for a few seconds. So people will have like strange experiences where they see these crazy, profound things, and it's like they're slipping through the veil into this other dimensional space whenever that happens.
wow. I saw the video of that or a picture of the
Mhm.
pterodactyl above flying. Like,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
my
that was pretty
life
crazy.
would never be the same after that. And then what about Egypt? Because you were just in Egypt too.
Yeah, Egypt was pretty incredible as well. A lot of people have had past lifetimes in Egypt, and it's a really big part of our history. It's the pyramids. So the pyramids are like this high energy center, also a very, very high energy center. And the pyramids are actually ancient technology. They're kind of like, I believe if they can be activated again, which they can be, that could help provide free energy for the planet. So then that's part of our evolution where we're heading. And that's how it was before. This wasn't just built by slaves in Egypt. Like this is advanced technology. It's very, very precise. And also within the Great Pyramid, it's like this ascension chamber. The acoustics, the vibration supports having profound experiences. In a lot of these temples, there are these sacred sites in the way that they're built is for the acoustics and everything, the vibration of it, the location of it, all of it's very strategic, where you can commune with God or the universe or whatever you want to call it, or you can work with healing, with activating, like it's just like amplified there.
Yeah, I want to go there too. That's on my list.
Yeah, it's a very amazing, amazing place. Yeah, it's very profound. It's magical. Um, yeah, you wouldn't be the same. Once you go, you're not the same.
Right. We'll end in a few minutes, but going back to like Talia and that connection that you have with your star family and
Mhm.
that love that you feel, like, do you feel like part of your soul is with them and your little fractal of Lily's soul is just in this human body, like trying to expand her soul in a human body? How do you look at that?
Yeah, that's actually a good way to put it, and it does feel like that.
Okay.
It does feel like that. And as you finish the book, you'll learn a really big secret
Oh,
that
good.
that will help put that together. But basically, yeah, I feel like we just have like a fragment of our light here as we incarnate on Earth because we're in this pretty dense place. We're used to being in more evolved, more advanced, more harmonious and balanced and light places. This is a pretty dark place.
Right.
There's a lot of light here too, but there's a lot of dark. Like it's a very dualistic place. Earth is known as like a very hard classroom. Like once you
Right.
graduate from Earth, like kudos to you because that was tough.
Right.
Uh, so so I feel like we can only incarnate because of this dense environment. We're fragmented into smaller uh, bits, and plus all of the programming, it makes us smaller. But as we begin to expand our consciousness, raise our vibration, we begin to kind of call in more of our light and who we truly are, and we start begin to feel more whole through that process. But that's like the awakening ascension process that we're going through right now. So yeah, I believe we're just like little fragments that can fit in this human body of what we actually are.
But why do you think what is Lily's little fractal here to do? Like what do you feel like your purpose or what you're here to expand your little fractal of your soul even more?
Yeah, I feel like it's multidimensional. It's for our personal growth and development. We're pieces of source and we wanted to experience things. So it's part of our ascension process or our training to experience Earth here. But also, there was a call put out because Earth's timeline, Earth was in trouble basically because of a lot of the kind of corruption and stuff. And that's what happened with Atlantis. That's why it was destroyed. They destroyed themselves.
Right.
So basically, there was a call put out for help to assist with Earth's awakening because we needed some help. Earth needed some help. So we brought in these volunteers and like people like Dolores Cannon write about this a
Right.
lot. So I believe that I volunteered to come down here to assist with disclosure, assist with helping people on their awakening journey, with taking the teachings that I learned from my galactic family and from Source and sharing them with others, for doing these activations and yeah, just offering hope and tools and resources to assist people on their journey and help to
Yeah.
usher in a new age.
Right. How far along do you think we are in that? Like we're just at the beginning? Like 2020 was kind of like,
I think we're kind of like in the middle of it.
okay.
We're in the middle of like the hardest part,
Yeah.
is what I feel like. Like
Yeah.
it's been some push and shove for sure because there are people out there who do not want the awakening. They do not want these advanced technologies. They do not want contact to happen because that's the profiteers, right? So we're in the middle of breaking down those old systems, those old control systems, the old banking systems, the old pharmaceutical, food, all the corruption, all the lies, all the poisons, all of that. We're in the middle of breaking that down. So, and it's very resistant, like it's resisting it. So we have to just keep fighting and fighting and fighting and fighting and fighting, and while anchoring our light
Yep.
and doing our inner work because what we do internally reflects outward into
Right.
our reality. So I feel like we're like in the nitty-gritty right now.
Yeah. Oh, that's for sure. I mean, if people say this is only the beginning, like you haven't seen anything yet, like, oh boy. So let's hear how people can find you, your book, what's on the horizon? What are you, like when all these UFOs and they come to the earth and people are now like, they're their friends or they're meeting them. Like, what is the Lily? Tell me, Lily's, how to find you and all the other things that you see in your future.
Yeah, yeah. So you can find me on my website, lilynovacontact.com. I have tons of resources on there. And I also have like workshops and activations, like how to develop psychic abilities, how to make contact with your star family, how to activate your DNA. I've got like trainings and things like that and different sessions that people can do if they're interested. I'm very active on YouTube, which is Lily Nova Starseed. I go live every other Sunday, sometimes every Sunday, and post other videos. I'll do like psychic updates. I'll tune into the field, see what's going on. Uh, And I've been covering a lot of Three Eye Atlas right now and other sorts of content. So you can find me on there. I'm also on Instagram, lilynova.official, and on Facebook. And I see, well, I see more people starting to just see through, the illusion and starting to step more into their power and regaining our sovereignty and stepping into our co-creative power because we can be master manifestors. So I see the energies are really supporting that. And some people, if they feel called, they can develop more of an active relationship in either like spirit guides or source or the galactic family if they feel called to that. And I think that's going to be happening more and more uh, as we go.
Yeah. Exciting, right? We
Yeah.
signed up for this, so we better be excited.
Yeah, I mean, it starts to make sense. At first, it sounds crazy, but then once you feel into it and you start like processing it, you're like, oh, duh.
Right.
Like it feels more natural. Like,
Right.
if that makes sense.
Yes, for sure. Well, thank you. I've loved it. I've really enjoyed. I can't wait to finish your book and go on my walk later and listen to the end so I can hear the little surprise.
Yeah, there's a nice surprise in there. And oh yeah, for people, my book is Contact and it's available on Amazon or Audible. So
Yeah.
Lily Nova Contact, if you just search that. And that it's kind of a lot of people just report having experiences during or, experiencing some sort of activation, but I think it helps to put some of those puzzle pieces together.
Yeah. I think it makes me too today, like looking up and like having my mind like speak to think like that's what it kind of prompts you. Like I listen to you and how you bring that forth into your reality.
Yeah.
And it just gives you that awareness that you have that power to do it. Like you give the confidence that,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and the universe is intelligent. This blew my mind. But
right,
it's intelligent and it will interact with you and it will give you signs, synchronicities, and answers if you're open to it. Could be immediately.
right.
You
I
have
know.
help all around you.
Right. I love it. Oh, thank you. So fun.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you so much for having me on.